Morning, everyone. I'm Julie Livingston, and this is my first episode of Julie's PR Patter. I am going to be inviting lots of people from my marketing network to chat with me every week about a different marketing topic. And so I hope you'll be tuning in on, we'll be doing it regularly on Wednesdays. Today is Tuesday, but we'll be doing it on Wednesdays going forward at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm so fortunate today to have my colleague Meg Sullivan with me, and I'm going to bring her on now. Hi, Meg.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, Julie. How about yourself?
Good. Meg Sullivan is founder and CEO of the Quorum Initiative, which is an organization for senior female executives. And the mantra of Quorum is to really help women and show them how to ascend the corporate ladder and to attract more venture capital for women owned and run businesses, to increase female representation on corporate boards, et cetera, et cetera. So Meg, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the genesis of the Quorum Initiative and how you got there.
Yeah, gosh. So I launched Quorum Initiative in 2011, if you can believe it. So it's been quite a fascinating ride.
Amazing.
And it really stemmed from a personal passion and interest of mine, which was I really realized I'd worked so hard, had my head down, worked so hard to get ahead, to advance, to kind of get into the C-suite. I arrived there and I kind of looked around and I thought, oh my gosh, first of all, I'm one of the only females anywhere to be found.
No, I'm going to just interrupt you for 1 minute. We should mention that you were at Paul Hastings, a global law firm. You did have a seat at the management table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you, Julie. And I was shocked actually how hard it was to get there. I'll just be really honest. And because the parts that were hard were not whether I did my job well. That I did well, so that wasn't a problem. I deserved to be where I was at, but all the navigating of the politics and the reality to get to a place like that was complicated, and that was shocking to me. If I looked back, that was a long, hard path. And I felt like there was still so much work to be done. I was so surprised. When I got out of college, I thought, world's my oyster. I'm going to conquer this. Women have done so many great things already. They've carved a path for us. This is a no-brainer. And in fact, it was way harder than I expected, and continued to be even when I was in the most senior positions, in the organization that I was working for. So I was very invested in how do I gather in the same room smart, dynamic women who care about getting the change done, because care about leveraging their platform, the positions that they're in, to figure out how we get more women into these senior leadership positions, how we ensure there's greater equity in everything that happens for women. And so that was the impetus for starting Quorum. Initially was, gosh, if we could just get all these great minds together in a room and collaborate on the problem, we're gonna link arms and move forward together and have much greater impact. So that was really the idea of Quorum initially.
One of the things that I've been so impressed of, and I've known you a few years now, is that you are such a natural change maker. You are somebody who is pretty comfortable with inciting change, and then promoting it and getting people, women, on board to really take those steps forward. And that's a skill that's not always so easily embraced by many people.
Right.
How did being a change maker affect your work in the corporate world?
I always felt like, first of all, change for me always meant a learning curve, a new way of thinking. I was always curious about something that I hadn't done before or didn't know. And I wanted to be, I was very invested, with a marketing and business development background. I was always very invested in being a first mover, kind of how do we get into a pole position on something when you're in a very crowded marketplace with not a lot of differentiation around brands and things like that. So that always fascinated me. So I was a big fan constantly of trying to shake it up, test, imagine, rethink, do something else. And so I literally would wake up every morning and talk to myself, as I was getting ready about, okay, what's
What are
today's
you going
new
to do
day?
today?
Yeah. And it obviously was something quite innate in me, I think. But I also, because that was what I cared so much about, I think people that I worked with started to care about it more too. They felt like there was oxygen to imagine, and because at least they could find that engagement with me, or I would be open to something like that. And so I think it allowed others to to get more comfortable with that kind of reality. I also loved, my last industry that I was in. Last big corporate job that I was in law, in the legal business, and it isn't known for change. It's built on precedent. So it's almost an oxymoron. You're going to get in.
Wow, that must have been difficult.
And that was even, I love a good challenge. I'm very competitive as a human being, love it. So, and, that was like a challenge right up my alley. It's like, oh, well, okay, well, let me show you that we can actually do some different things around here. I loved it. So I think that's what's always inspired, that kind of energy that comes with innovating, I think has always inspired me.
I wanted to also mention that you are an Aspen Institute First Fellow,
Yeah.
and this comes to mind because we're talking about change
Yeah.
and being a change maker as you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that experience, Meg, and why that's been that was such a pivotal moment in your career. I know it's a lifetime
Yeah.
membership, but tell us a
No,
little
no,
bit about
sure.
the
Yeah.
Aspen Institute.
So I was invited to be a first mover fellow for the Business and Society programs at the Aspen Institute, and their fellowship programs are really, if anyone ever gets an opportunity to participate, just say yes. That's my bottom line. They're remarkable experiences, not only because you meet remarkable people, but they spend a lot of time and energy on curating their curriculum, and so it's just beautifully done as far as I'm concerned. And I what they were very focused on was helping all of us be bigger, better leaders, and with the notion of being an intrapreneur in our own organizations. So to your point, Julie, about being a change maker. So we all had to have projects that we were working on while we were in our fellowship course, and that was done kind of outside of all the coursework we were doing, and we would present on it kind of throughout what kinds of things we were trying to do. So one of the things that I worked on was creating a whole new revenue stream for the firm that was focused on things like impact investing and ESG, which at the time, that was in 2007, those were still concepts that weren't as socialized as they're starting to become today. And I thought that we could be a first mover at the law firm by kind of getting into that market space quickly, and uh, owning some of that space. So that's what I worked on. It was great, great experience on all levels. So
That's so
um,
wonderful.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's what a feather in your cap for being
yeah. No, it was amazing.
participant in that with the Aspen Institute,
Yeah,
which brings me to this week's How Women Lead Change Forum, a
yeah,
conference that will be held in New York City, put on by the Quorum Initiative. And it is, again, all about change and becoming a change maker in your life and your organization. you have lined up such amazing speakers. I mean, really women who you might not have heard before. I've gone to so many female empowerment, women's empowerment conferences, and over time you kind of see a lot of the same women.
Mm.
But I know that looking at the Quorum Initiative, the docket for the How Forum this Friday, there are so many fresh faces and women from a lot of different industries with a lot of new perspectives on what's happening for women in the corporate world today, and
Right.
how we can help each other. So tell us a little bit about how women lead change. I do want to note that there is a special promotion code that you can use for a discount off the registration and attendance. It's just going to be such an inspiring event. So tell us a little bit about some of the speakers. And in fact, I know Judy Samuelson from the Aspen Institute will be one of them. So maybe you could give us an overview.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. It's a very big week for us at Quorum Initiative, so we're very excited. The How Women Lead Change Forum is it's a full day on Friday from 8 to 5, jam-packed with some very exciting, not only exciting speakers, but exciting content, if I could describe it that way.
Yeah.
And there's a dinner that's the night before on Thursday night, which is very special. It's a great moment for people to get to meet each other and exchange. But we have some incredible women who are giving their time, incredible professionals who are here to talk and share and be inspiring and offer ideas to the community. So we kick off dinner with a speaker over dinner on Thursday night, who is Michelle McMurray Heath, who is just an incredible professional in the pharma bio technology space. She's currently running bio, and so she's worked her way to very senior positions in that industry. And she's going to talk a lot about the importance of having mentors, sponsors, your own board of directors as you advance through your career path and what that's done for her. So that'll be one of the highlights, among other things. She'll talk a little bit about women's health and some views she has on that, which is uber important at this moment in time. But she'll do a little bit of a focus, I think, on all of those notions. And she had a piece in the Wall Street Journal about how important her personal board was to her advancement. So I think that's really fun to have her share.
And again, the how-to part of it,
and how it helped her along the way, how to do it, what's involved in that. So
I love that.
So that's really exciting. In the morning, we have two speakers in a fireside chat, Dr. Marjorie Jenkins and Marcia Henderson, and they're going to be speaking about change, how to get change done in organizations. Both of them were at the FDA together, working on women's health related issues, and they're going to talk a little bit about actually how late we were as a country, and the FDA in particular, to focusing on women's health and what you needed to do for clinical trials and ensuring that drugs were geared towards women, not just geared to everybody. So that's a really fascinating change that those women worked on, and making change in an institution is
and a very bureaucratic institution.
Maybe even harder than in the corporate world, but there's a lot of learnings that are very similar, I think, in terms of, what has to happen and what do you have to think about. And so they're going to share some stories around that and tips. And Dr. Jenkins really considers herself a change maker, and she'll talk a little bit about that, which is fantastic. I think she's the dean of medical school, and she's one of the few females in the United States who's a dean of the medical school. So, wow. That's important. We have
Najwa Atiqa.
We have Najwa Atiqa, who's going to be speaking
I
really
think that's
about,
going to be fascinating.
yeah, she's incredible. She's the most senior woman in financial services from the Middle East. So most senior woman, maybe period. Certainly, she's been the general counsel of the Sovereign Wealth Fund of the UAE, and she is just fabulous. There's, all these women are just incredible. And she's going to talk about how she's leveraging her platform for change. So as she managed to arrive at being seen, into these positions where she had a big seat at the table, what she's done with it and how her real focus is helping women envision a career path in the Middle East. Many of those markets, that's quite a complicated process, and she is really created a whole organization focused on advancing women in law, because that's such an important part of helping create change for
I've been
society more broadly. So she's just
in
amazing.
in just reading about her, I've been so amazed at what she has been able to do, particularly within those cultural confines that she's working in. And I know she has also created a group for women in the Middle East,
Correct.
of her
Correct.
ilk, so that they can
Exactly.
really bond together.
So they
Um,
can really work on those issues. Yeah, which is incredible. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name. I'm sorry. Venture capital.
Yeah, Paula De
Paula.
Laurentiis
Yes.
is gonna join us, from Portfolia, and she's gonna talk to us about, investing as and investing in women. And Portfolia is doing a lot of amazing work in the venture capital space. One, trying to help female investors get more comfortable with investing, so putting their capital to work. One of the things that they're spending time on, which we tend to forget, we tend to talk a lot about the fact that there's not enough money and capital flow going to female entrepreneurs. And that is true, by the way. And it went backwards during COVID, which is not a good sign. So it hangs out around 2% of all venture capital goes to women entrepreneurs, which is just shocking if you think about how much money is in there at the moment, how much capital is flowing in that space. But the other thing they talk about and spend time on is that only 2% of the capital is coming from women. So women aren't actually putting their money to work.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
that's an issue they want to talk about, because women, when they choose to invest, tend to invest in businesses they can really believe in. Often that means they're much more interested in some of women-run businesses. And the reason is because often the women-run businesses have a bigger impact to their bottom line. It's not just about making a profit. They're also trying to create change of some sort.
Right.
A product that's better often for their own community, or their own, for women and children often is kind of where you see them playing. So they're trying to help create, solve for both issues, which is a really cool thing. And so we're very excited to have her
Wow.
with us to talk to us about all that, which is
Wow. I
amazing.
mean, the content at the How Forum is going to be so energizing, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for
I'm
sure. Yeah.
already getting like so pumped up
Yeah,
about
and then
being there.
and Judy Samuelson's going to come from the Aspen Institute, and she wrote a book really talking about what you need to see from leaders today, which is different than before. And she's going to be amazing, because she's going to talk about what she thinks some leaders are doing that's great, and how they're worrying about more than just the shareholders outcome. How are they worrying about stakeholders, which is a debate we've seen for a decade, at least over a decade
Sure.
now. Um,
Reputation, I would imagine.
yeah, and how are they thinking about first and foremost, their talent, which is really critical in today's world, as we all know, and with all these kind of crazy employment issues that people have, that's an important reality. Start paying attention. What they're doing about their role in the environment and improving society more broadly. How are they handling DE&I related issues? All those kinds of things. So Judy has spent a lot of time watching, studying, poking at leaders, big corporate leaders, about their role in being additive to solving the big societal problems that we have today. So
Wow.
I think she'll be a very cool speaker for us as well. So it's exciting,
Wow.
really
Meg,
exciting. Yeah,
thank you so much for that overview. It
yeah,
really, it
yeah,
just sounds like there's so much value there and so many great takeaways. I have been to, as I said, so many women's empowerment, women's leadership conferences in the past. And while I'm there, I think there are takeaways, but when I leave, I'm a
yeah,
little lost. But
yeah,
from attending so many quorum events in the past, I know that this is different.
yeah,
You are really going to take away the how
yeah,
to get there.
yeah. How to
And
get
you're
there?
going to learn, you're going to really hear it from people who have actually done it, who
And
want to share what really happens.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very nitty, we get into the detail. But I also, we really believe at Quorum about action. How do you take action? So the reason we talk about the how is so that that inspires all of us to walk out of the room with a whole list of things that we're going to do differently or more of, however that looks, and get going, because that we're trying to inspire that action for change. And
And it's real content.
yeah,
It's not sugar coated. That's what
it's
I
very
wanted to say.
interactive too, Julie. It
Yeah,
feels intimate.
yeah,
You get a chance to meet everybody that's there. You get a chance to
yeah.
meet all the speakers and
It's great.
interface with them. It's a very so it's not a you're not being talked at, you're collaborating with. Does that make sense in terms of
Totally,
yeah.
totally. That's the quorum difference. Anyway, Meg, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so glad.
No, it's such a pleasure.
I'm really looking forward to the How Forum, How Women Lead Change on Friday, October 14th. I hope you'll all join us. Again, please take advantage of the discount code, which is on the screen. Go to howforum2022.com. And I'll see you next week on Julie's PR Patter.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Julie. Thanks, everybody.